Go Go Power Rangers. I remember when that show was launched. Old I am. Anyway, let's talk about something more uplifting. This is the Pininfarina PF Go. Go. And I kind of fell in love with this pen. Pininfarina makes special pens look very interesting. Not for everyone, typically, I have to admit. Not for me. This is special. It's kind of a pocket pen. It's pretty small, right? But it has some cool things going for it. It's kind of tiny. I haven't put them side by side, but I'm pretty sure this is about Kaweco sport size. And then you have this massive cap. And you put that on, and then you got this kind of beefy pen in your hands. Even though it is only 4 inches, but I'm eyeballing it. Not that anyway. Now, this pen was lent to me by Joost Appelboom, and I really appreciate that. He sent me a massive box of pens. I think there were something like 8 pens in there. It says you don't have to be bored in summer. And the fun thing is, if I'm not bored, then you're not bored, because then I'm making videos. So we should all thank Joost Appelboom. Don Giuseppe, grazie per mille. Grazie. Never mind, it's not an Italian lesson. Anyway, I think it's a lot of fun, this pen. Cute, fun, works well. I'm going to cover the parts of the pen, tell what I like about it, what I don't like about it, but first I'll do a writing sample. That's what's coming up next. Let's get started. Oh, don't forget, click the banner, Appelboom banner on my website, 10% discount if you want this flashy piece of kit. Let's go. Okay, let's talk about the Pininfarina PF Go Titanium. Comes in this little box. It's a smaller pen. Sorry, it does say Pininfarina PF Go, and it has a sort of a slight little bit of relief of that pen cap. Has a little outer sleeve with some paperwork, and then you have the actual little box, which is kind of cool because it just falls apart into 2 halves, which I don't believe are magnetic. I can't quite make out the material. It feels a bit like wood, but I could be wrong there. And then here, and then here we have the actual pen. It does have a facet, but it's at the bottom. I'm just going to put it down this way. I know you can't see the clip this way, but then it won't roll away. And I can show you this pen next to the Pilot Metropolitan. A smaller pen, the PF Go, right? This pen is €73.55 at Appelboom. Don't forget the discount through the banner. Extra fine, medium, broad. Steel nibs. Various finishes are available. There's a blue and a red as well. Design and ease of use were on top of the minds of the designers, and I think they did a pretty good job with that. Let me show you what I really, some of the features I really like about the pen, but let's go over the features. So, we have here the pen. It has Pininfarina on the clip. The clip can be activated by pushing this tip, like so. Pretty neat, I think. Works pretty well. I like spring-loaded clips. They're a bit less prone to bending out of shape. Large cap with an interesting slanted cut near the bottom there. It's a little sharp, but nothing to worry about. I've seen way worse on pens. Flat on that end, as you can see. That does make it lie down pretty well on your desk, which I like a lot. And that's pretty much what I have on that side. A lot of pocket pens have slip caps. I like that this actually unscrews. Then we have this, I assume the pen's called titanium. I assume this is aluminum or aluminium. Very small, right? I would not be able to use this unposted. Some people would. But it posts very securely. And then you have this massive cap and you put it to good use. Number 5, nib in steel with the Pininfarina logo. It's labeled M for medium on the back. That M is an interesting angle, by the way, but that's not a huge concern to me. And then once you unscrew this, the pen is extremely light, by the way, which is not a reason that makes me think it's aluminium, or aluminum. Cap is much heavier. Pen, you barely even feel you're holding anything. Cartridges. Comes with a cartridge, and people always want to know, can you put a second one in the back? No, you cannot. It really is a pocket pen, and it should be treated as such. One cartridge. You can probably put one of those B.R.E mini converters in, because I think that should fit. There seems to be a bit of space for that. The little sort of draw filler type converters. Okay, I'm posting it so I can do some writing for you, and the ink in it is just the cartridge that came with it. So I don't know what brand it is, but I do know that this is the Pininfarina PF Go with a medium nib and black ink that came with it. Okay, the pen is a pleasant writer. It has, for me, just the right amount of feedback to let me know that I'm using a fountain pen and not something else, but it's not scratchy at all. I also quite like this black ink. It's quite intense, pretty good flow. Fast writing. I quite like it. Keeps up pretty well with flow. Wetness. Not bad at all. Notice there is no breather hole in the nib, by the way, just as a bit of curio. Line variation. There is some to be had. It's not advertised as a flex nib, so be very careful, but you can get a little bit out there. For those of you who enjoy such a thing, reverse writing is an option, but the nib seems to run dry. It doesn't get super scratchy, but you can get away with a couple of words, I would say. Pretty interesting pen, and I quite like the design. What I did want to point out, we'll come back to that in likes and dislikes, but I think it's good to show it to you while I have the camera pointed down. This piece, it's a little sharp. It doesn't really bother me for my particular hand size, but that might depend on who you are. For some people that might be a bit more troubling because it is a bit sharp. Doing this, I can definitely feel a bit of an edge. Not enough to get cut on or anything, but you will feel that as you write, and not everyone may like that. So be aware that that is an issue. This might really be a pen to try out before you get it, if you can. Screws in nicely, and by the way, the posting does not screw. That's really just a push in, but it's really quite tight, so I wouldn't be afraid that it becomes unposted as you write with it. I mean, that would also mean that gravity would suddenly fail and the cap would fly off, but you know what I mean. Some pens are so loose that if you flick it around a bit that the cap would fly off. That will not happen with this pen when it's posted. Even though the cap is so heavy, it posts really securely. So what we should do next is talk about likes and dislikes. That's what's coming up. What do I like? What do I not like about this pen? There are a couple of things that I'm really impressed by. It's well thought through. This clip mechanism works really well. It's a screw-on cap. I like that in pocket-sized pens so that you don't have any accidents where accidentally slip off the cap. I know that can happen with threaded pens as well, but because it's metal on metal, if you really tighten those threads, that cap is not going to come off any day soon. I like that. Little top heavy. It's a lot of cap and a little bit of pen, right? So it's a little top heavy, but it's kind of neat. And I think that to me is something that I've really come to appreciate over the past years. I have seen so many pens and I've seen so many designs that are all pretty much the same or just variations on a theme. This looks pretty different to me. I know the concept is the same as a Kaweco Sport, but it looks different. It looks neat. It's a different type of design and it's well made. What is rounded off is rounded off. What is pointy, what should be pointy is pointy, etc. So it works pretty well. Nice nib too, pretty smooth, nice, pretty wet, even with just ordinary cartridges, works pretty well. So I like all that. Things I don't like, well, it's not cheap. 73 euros for a pocket pen with a steel nib, it's not cheap, right? So that's a decision you have to make, whether you find that worth it. Beyond that, the only issue I really have is unposted the pen weighs practically nothing. I'm not even sure if I would, I mean, if you blindfold me, you'd put a book in my hand, you'd put this pen on it, I wouldn't notice the difference. Just noticeable difference, Weber ratios, etc. But that's interesting. But then with the cap is actually pretty heavy, heavier than the pen. So once you have that on there, things can get a little unbalanced. Final thing I will say is this on top, I don't really feel it as I hold it. It's just my finger position is such I don't really feel it. The phalanxes of my fingers are big enough to just cover that. If your fingers are a little smaller, I bet you would feel this, and it is a little sharp. In general, this whole sort of slanted edge there is pretty sharp. So this might be a pen to really try out before you end up buying it. Having said that, like I said, I think it's pretty cool. So I like it. I might actually consider buying this even at that price, because I like it enough to spend that money, because it is kind of cool. So I hope that was useful, and I'm glad to see you later. Bye.